This is not financial advice. I am not a financial advisor. Before taking any action based on the information provided on this channel, it is recommended that you seek the advice of a professional licensed financial advisor.
Let's do this.
All right, everybody, welcome back to the channel at TAQ Capital, where we do technical analysis quickly, hence the name. In this video, I'm going to jump into the Ethereum chart and show you what I'm looking at here, what I expect to play out. This is the 1 week chart, and you can see that we've been coming down this yellow descending channel here since the all-time high back in November. And once we bottomed out here in June, we've been, bouncing. So we've got our second hit, third hit, fourth hit here actually just happened. So let me clear that up. 1, 2, 3, because once this hit here, it pulled it away from this spot. And now my belief is that we're going to be coming down here and breaking down out of this. And I'll explain why. If you're familiar with the channel and you've been here before, you'll know just how much I love wedge trading, the Ichimoku cloud, Bollinger Bands. And this black cloud in the back here is the Bollinger Band. Let me turn these into transparent so you can see it. You can see that we've been outside the Bollinger Band now for the last 4 candles. We sort of touched on it here too, but it's nothing like we were way outside here, but we're definitely outside. So we're pushing the outer limit. And then we've got the Ichimoku cloud with the Tekken line and the Kijin line. And the Kijin is usually it's one to show you where the market's been over the last 26 days. It's a moving average essentially. Whereas the green, the Tekken line, is the conversion line. And this is more about what's going on now. So you can see that this is closer to the candles. So it's hugging the candles more. When the space between the red and the green grow, that's when you see candles start to get pulled down. So this big space pulled these candles down. This is an even bigger space, but because it was already down here, it shot up. Now this hasn't really been doing the norm. Ordinarily, when we hit here with this space opening, I would have thought it would have come down in like this. And it hasn't, but there's been all of the psychological hype in the news about Ethereum here. And that's what's really kept this thing pumping. So much so that once we got all the way out here, and this was this big of a space, it started to pull the Kijin up to the Tekken because it was, reducing the space because it was so bullish. And that's a great indicator. But when you zoom out further, this is the 2-day. This is setting Ethereum up for a major pullback. What I'm expecting to happen is on the 15th, and it's the 13th now. So this candle just populated. It's possible that this could continue to go, pulling the Kijin up higher. But even if it does, I don't think it's going to pull it up that much higher at all. What I'm expecting is on the 15th, this is going to lay over. And this might either come higher or go flat, creating a large space. And that's when you're going to see the candle get pulled down to the red line and possibly through. When you take into consideration the wedge trading here too, this wedge that's forming, you've got, this is where it changed direction, second hit, third hit. Now it's hard to tell which one of these two is the hit. I'll have to go to other time frames to tell. But what it could be is that they're both the hit, and we know that that can't happen. So that would indicate that this is going to go a little bit higher. And when that happens, you would just take the line and you would just move it up there to where this wick goes. And then this becomes the 4th hit. And then it'll start to work its way down, and the breakout is on number 5. When you zoom out even further to the 3-day, you get a similar story. The red crossed underneath the green, which is a great bullish signal, but it's doing so at this downward angle, meaning it's still going down. So as this shoots up, all of this is space, and we know what happens when there's space. You've got to fill it. So again, on the 3-day, it's following the same narrative. Jumping up to the 4-day, while these are getting closer together, obviously, because of the bullish activity that you're having happen here, there's still quite a bit of space here. To compare it to the past, we can take a look at some prior activity. Let's see, we've got a large space here, which would be indicative of this. Then it starts to get closer together here, which is kind of indicating that a move is going to brew. So just because they're close doesn't mean it's bullish. It just means something's about to happen. And then here, you've got a small space. It could be considered fairly similar to this. And then this is when you had your massive breakdown. So this could certainly play out the exact same way it did back here. 5-day, you've got them coming together. You don't just have the green moving up towards the red, which is more bullish. You've also got the red coming down towards the green. Again, that's not a complete science, because you can have the red come down, the green stay strong out here like this, and then it'll just take off. So if you had to pick, though, the red coming down towards the green and the green coming towards the red, that's kind of neutral. But if you had like I said, if you had the green going straight and the red coming down, that's a little bit more bearish. See, whereas on the 6-day and the 7-day, you have the green coming up towards the red and all of that. And there's the 8-day. So there you go. So that's bullish. I mean, looking at the 9-day, this has been just an absolute tear. But because you had your third hit here, this is what creates that line. So now that's the wedge that we're looking at, and this one is going to have to retrace down. If we look at the Fibonacci retracement tool to see what would happen here, we'd have a pullback down to probably this third line. You've even seen it go lower than that, which was getting close to the green wedge line. And then it would go back up again. But I don't think that's what's going to happen here. I just don't think we have the momentum. I think as you look at what Bitcoin's going to do and some of the other technicals, I don't think we're jumping into a wave situation. Also, if you look at what's happening in the RSI, this is on the 4-day. Technically, your change of direction is up here, but often you can't use the first one because the difference in height between this point and this point is too close. So your line would be something like this. The yellow lines. And because this is your first, it actually misses this one. Then your second would have to come between this one and this one. So this would be your second. So you'd have 1, 2, 3, 4, and then we'd be waiting, forever for this breakout up there. So that's not a very helpful wedge. It doesn't make it an inaccurate one. It means it's not helpful. If you switch down rather to the white wedge, you've got your first, second. This would have been the third until this crazy run. So because that's not the third now, this is the third, which means what would have been 3 and 4 is now 3, and somewhere down here is 4. So this is indicating a precipitous fall. And, God knows where that's going to take the market. But it makes sense in the fact that there would be a greater correction from Ethereum than you'd be expecting in the Bitcoin. So if you haven't seen my Bitcoin video, go check that one out and you'll see what I'm talking about in the RSI as well. And it's the same story in the weekly. You got your 1 here. 2 is somewhere in here, and I'll explain that in a minute. Now this just became your 3, so your 4 has got to be somewhere down in here. Same thing. The lowest we've hit on the RSI yet was back here, which was December of 2018. So that's a 24.33 that you can see over here. And we haven't hit that here. So, even in history, we've gone lower than this. So if this came down and hit there, or even set an all new low before it did its breakout, then that's not unreasonable. But to touch back on this here, when you see stuff like this and you're doing wedge trading, and while there may be a handful of people, or even a whole lot of people that would disagree with me, because a lot of people don't think the wedge trading is this surgical, it's this precise, it's this accurate. Every wick, every tip, zoom in just to ensure that you're touching is how you do it. And I could not disagree more. But let me explain. Okay, to draw your attention over here, it's looking like this first one is the hit, but we're going to do more zooming just to confirm this. This is zooming and stretching it out, so you do have a hit, and that is technically a miss, and that is obviously a miss. So my point by showing you this, triple spike that close together, very hard to tell. While it can work, often you get a lower low, which makes it more obvious as to what it'll be. So for instance, if this came down and spiked, way down to, let's say, the 20 line over here, the gray dashed line, you could then take this, create a new low here, which we right there, and it will change the angle of what's going on back here. Now, I don't know that we have enough room unless we're going to be hitting, down here in the 10. But if you let's just say we did, let's say we switched it to the 10, then this will become more obvious, or potentially. Now, I don't know that we're going to have the room to do this kind of a correction, but that actually switches this one to be the hit because it's pulling it off of that one. It doesn't become that much more obvious in this particular case. If you had it, sitting on like the back one, and then you could pivot it way down here, you see how it pulls it way off of those two? You'll see that happen a lot. So what you thought could not be possible, bringing it way down here, actually ends up being the case. Now, I am not saying that's what's happening here with Ethereum, because technically we did have, a hit on the first one, miss on the second, and then big miss on the third. So it did actually play out. But sometimes you can actually have a double hit. Like, you can zoom all the hell you want. You're never going to see the two separate. And that's when you have to have a change. That's when you'd have this come, much further down, and then you'd have to bring that in. So it's just, all I'm getting at is that there's more indications of upcoming bearish moves. And, especially coming off of something this significant here, how this is standing straight up. When you have that here, you had this little pullback, and another spike up, and then you have it come back down. So we're going to be looking at least something like this. I don't think there's a way around that. But the reason why I think it's going to be bigger than that, and why I would say it has to be bigger than that, is because you now have your 4 thrown off, your 4 and then a breakout. So if we count, again, this first one is the hit up here. So you've got change of direction. This is number 2. This was 3, and that killed it. This is now 3, so 4 has to be lower. And I have not seen this not play out. So it's always played out, is a cleaner way of saying that. Now, in trading, there are rules that are always the case until they're not. So this could be an exception to it. The market does what the market wants to do when the market wants to do it. Hell, theoretically, this could just continue to go up, in which case we would have our 1, 2, 3, because we'd have to switch this down here, 4, and this was our 5 breakout. So this could just continue to go up. I really don't think that's the case. There's too much going on with the Ichimoku cloud. I mean, it could be one of these things where it sort of flops and then kind of rides the line down for the next 8 weeks, still ends up down in here, and then takes off. That could happen too. Now, I know this is a lot of speculation, but this is kind of what you're doing. But when you look back at what Bitcoin is doing, for this to be able to just continue to go up, I don't think that's possible. I just don't think it's possible. And then you probably, let me take a look at something here. I was just checking to see if we were having bullish divergence between these two peaks here on any of the time frames, and I can't see it. I mean, the 2-day, that's too big of a space. You can't count that many candles. So we'd have to jump up to something like the 6-day. And if you, place your line in here, technically this is still lower. So 7-day, you have the same thing. 8-day, 9-day, 10-day. and so on. So you're not getting the bearish divergence. Anyway, that's it for my Ethereum update. If you have any questions, feel free to leave comments, and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. I wouldn't expect much happening probably today, although if you look at the 5-hour, this is indicating that it should be pulled down to here. But I mean, there's been all kinds of indications that things should be happening, and Ethereum has just blatantly ignored them. But because of what Bitcoin's going to be doing today, if Ethereum does respond in kind, it should be coming down. And a 5-hour is a pretty freaking reliable chart. So I mean, this should be coming down to at least, what is this, 1836, and then with the Bollinger Band, activity here outside, and this last rally up, I would imagine you're going to be looking at what I call a reset. So this would be a 5-hour reset where it would come all the way down to the Bollinger Band. And I'm willing to bet if you jump up 7, 8 hour and so on, you're going to have more of the same. Yeah, I mean, it's just been riding this Bollinger Band and coming out. When it came out here, it got pulled back down. When it came out here, it got pulled back down. And now you're out here this much, it's going to get pulled back down. And you had a full 8-hour reset here, full 8-hour reset here. So I think we're going to be coming down, into the 1600 mark in the short term. But I really do believe we're looking at that. So thanks for watching, guys. I really appreciate you, and I'll catch you in the next video.